Public notice of nonprofit educational fair use in compliance with Title 17, Section 107 of the United States Copyright Code. Federal law allows citizens to reproduce, distribute, or exhibit portions of copyrighted motion pictures, video media, or video discs
under certain circumstances without authorization of the copyright holder. This infringement of copyright is called, quote, fair use, end quote,
and is allowed for purposes of criticism, news reporting, teaching, and parody.
So now what we're looking at is Adelaide, Australia. And can I go back to where my map was? That would help me. Come on, map. Yeah, good. So we, again, I'll make this easier so people don't complain that I was talking about the wrong thing here. Let me spin this around. All right, so we're here. So from Adelaide, which is, I don't know if I'm in the exact right spot, we'll just say here. Okay. So people think, I won't mention names.
Of course you won't mention our names, Awake Souls and Event Skeptic, because we are the ones exposing the model that you're promoting as being impossible.
Goofy people.
Oh, we're the goofy ones.
Think that the sun is doing this for some strange reason.
That is what's happening in the quote-unquote southern hemisphere from the fall equinox to the spring equinox.
They think the sun goes like this for these people, and the sun goes like this for these people, and the sun goes like this for these people, or this way. Which is not the truth. It's just how things are perceived.
It is true. Let's take a look at the sun in Adelaide, Australia. This is September 2017. I'm going to scroll down here to the equinox. So you can see that the sun rose 90 degrees east, set 270 degrees west. Now as you start looking through the days, it starts rising south of east and setting south of west. Let's take a look at where we are right now. So we'll go to October. It is rising 100 degrees. This is 10 degrees south of east. It is setting just about 10 degrees south of west. This is going to continue all the way up into the winter solstice. Let's take a look at December. And here we go, December 22nd. It's going to be rising 120 degrees. This is 30 degrees south of east, setting 240, 30 degrees south of west. For those of you that cannot just picture this, here is Stellarium. I am set up in Adelaide. So this right here is looking directly east, and you can see the sun. It's highlighted, and right now its azimuth is 100 degrees. Now what we can do is we can go through the hours here. You can see that it's getting up still south of east, and it's going to come overhead. So we're going to start turning the camera around here. We're going to set up and look due west. Put that right in the center of our screen. Now we're going to continue through the hours here. Whoa, look at that. The sun is going down south of west. So right there, 257, that is south. Of course, this becomes way more extreme when you're looking at this on the winter solstice. So here we are on 12/22. We are looking directly east. Watch this azimuth right here. We're at 120 degrees. Now watch the sun come up. It is coming up 30 degrees south of east. See this? Watch the colors in the sky. They are coming from the southeast. It's coming up overhead. Very overhead. Okay, see that? Now we're going to come down. Look directly west. You see where it went down over there? There, 240 is when that went down.
They think the sun goes like this for these people, and the sun goes like this for these people, and the sun goes like this for these people, or this way. Which is not the truth. It's just how things are perceived. Again, if the sun is coming around this way, okay, coming around like this. Sun goes like this. From this person's perspective, with the sky that I've already explained how the sky works.
Jaren's already explained how the sky works, everyone.
That you would see the sun coming as kind of from your east, and I guess it's easier to draw a picture really, but from your east, let's say we're looking out towards the north, like we're going to be here in a second.
Where is north on your model, Jaren?
That the sun is coming from this direction around, but of course things have to rise, right? And then things have to set because of distance.
Let's watch that one more time, and please pay attention to just how convoluted and irrational what Jaren is saying is right now.
That the sun is coming from this direction around, but of course things have to rise, right? And then things have to set because of distance. So let's go see what we see when we look at this Google Earth again. Okay, and we're going to look from here. Now watch this view that we see from here. I'm going to try and fast forward this thing a little faster so we can see it go. I'm going to look up higher in the sky. Alright, now watch me, we should get the picture of it. And you're going to see as this thing flies through, and I want it to go lower, so I'm going to wait till the summer here. So right now it's going above our heads, it's coming up from the east. Remember, we're looking north here. Oh shoot, you don't go back that far? Okay, we'll go backwards. 1 second, let me get all the way back to the summer. So I need it to be low enough. Okay.
No, we do not want to be looking at summer. Adelaide, South Australia, June 21st, the summer solstice. It does rise north of east. It does set north of west. You would want to only look at this if you're trying to promote the popular flat earth model and hide the evidence that destroys it.
So, shoot, I have to look up even higher.
And of course your chat is loaded with people doing things like this, donating $33. We see this kind of crap with Satanists like IPS as well.
It's coming from the right, from the east, and it's going off to the left to set. Now, if somebody turns and watches the sun, okay, so we're going to keep, let me break this down a little closer this way. Okay, so now you're watching it, and you can see it start to curve around. It's going to go curve around. There it goes. Oops. It went too far. There we go. There. We're going to lower it with it. Okay, so the sun looks to be setting that way, right? We know in the south it goes this way. It's just because that's how our perspective sends it. The sun is going and then out to the right. The sun is going and then out to the right. The sun is going and then out to the right. Meaning if you can hopefully see what I'm doing here. Can you see my mouse? Hopefully you can see my mouse, I don't know. Well, if you can see my mouse, it was coming around this and it's going around that way.
No, it's not.
That way.
No, it's not.
But from your perspective, because everything renders in your general area.
Now just hold on 1 second, because that is what Ronnie of Event Skeptic and myself have been saying for the last year. Everything renders to the observer. That is, in and of itself, a simulation proof. You are the one that treats the sun like it's some sort of physical object traveling between the tropics.
We know, for instance, you can only see, 3 miles to land? Is that what they say?
It's called distance to the horizon, not distance to land. And for an observer height of 6 feet, the distance to the horizon is 3 miles.
3 miles. And so, the sky we know we can see from much further than that. We can see the sun because it's bigger. I mean, I have no idea how big the sun is. We can see from much further than that. We can see the sun because it's bigger. I mean,
I have no idea how big the sun is.
Because it's bigger. I mean,
I have no idea how big the sun is.
I know Robotham and those guys said 32 miles. Well, imagine how big 32 miles is.
While Jaren's getting you to imagine this large 32-mile sphere, keep in mind, everyone, that most of you live thousands of miles away from the tropics. And yet when you stand outside and hold an umbrella over your head, you're in the shadow of it.
That's huge. Some jackasses taught us that the sun is 899,000 miles across, and that's a lie. The sun is, it's not that big. It's not that small. It's probably the biggest thing any of us have ever seen. No one's ever seen something 32 miles in diameter. It's like, that's huge. It's ridiculous. You couldn't even imagine it.
There you go again, Jaron, getting people to contemplate between a false dialectic, the Jesuit globe model and the Freemasonic AE model.
So something that large, which is rendering that large, would come around, go this way. So again, you can just kind of watch this as it flies through. And let me look up this way. Maybe I'm not all the way on the ground or something. Let me see. Usually, yeah, I'm way up in the sky. That's why. All right, let's get down here. All right, now we're on the ground. Now we're looking up. This is the perspective of somebody who's in Adelaide looking north. And see how the sun's doing that?
Can anybody see the difference between what Jaron is showing you right now and what I showed you in Stellarium? Jaron is being so devious in his effort to not show you the evidence that I am showing you.
And hopefully you can figure out that is what the sky looks like from your perspective. I don't know how to explain it any clearer. Ronnie, if you can't hear me and you keep saying, no, but it would be going out away from you, that's what's happening.
Ronnie is perfectly correct when he says that the sun would be going out and away from you. It doesn't matter what map you use. You can say, oh, I don't, care for the Gleasons. You like the AE model, which has the sun and moon doing circles, all right, over some sort of pie-shaped map. So all you have to do is take something like this, and I'm going to draw a line down here. This is where that Adelaide is, right here. I'm going to stop right where Adelaide is. Now I'm going to grab the protractor. I come down here, set it off that point, pull off the north here, bring this around to 90 degrees. Do you see that? If the sun and moon are doing circles, the sun would have to rise north of east and set north of west all the time, everywhere. And this is 90 degrees here. This is 270 degrees here. But we know that it's actually coming up 30 degrees south of east. So let's just show that. Come off of here. Here's 30 degrees. And 30 degrees off of here. This right here is the sunrise and sunset angles, rising from this direction, coming around and setting this direction at the winter solstice in the southern hemisphere for a city like Adelaide, Australia.
I can't explain to you any clearer that you're only going to see this part of, you need to get a big room, imagine a ceiling above your head, and imagine that light coming and going on the ceiling when we already talked about how close it is to you. It's barely above your head. When you're talking about the entire shape of the earth, and you're talking about this sky is right above us. And so you're going to see it and go, see it and go. And again, it's not a ball of gas, it's not a ball of fire.
I want to replay that last clip, but I want you to understand as you listen to it, listen very carefully, that he is talking down to Ronnie of Event Skeptic right now, using the exact terminology that we use to describe this as a simulation. And then there's another contradiction that's in there that I'll point out later.
When we already talked about how close it is to you, it's barely above your head. When you're talking about the entire shape of the earth, and you're talking about this sky is right above us. And so you're going to see it and go, see it and go. And again, it's not a ball of gas, it's not a ball of fire. And again, it's not a ball of gas, it's not a ball of fire. And again, it's not a ball of gas, it's not a ball of fire. For each person, and we know that because if you don't believe that, then ask somebody who believes in the globe to triangulate the sun, and they'll tell you that we don't triangulate the sun. Well, there's a reason for that. They'll say it's because so far we can't triangulate. It's so big we can't do this. And so
now here, Jaron, you are just straight up lying your ass off, because that is not what globe believers say at all. In fact, they reference that they can triangulate the sun and that they've used it to sail the seas for years. They know the sun positions, and they know the sunrise angles and sunsets in the southern hemisphere are south of east and south of west, and they know that because of that, the popular flat earth model cannot be correct. So that is one of the things that stumbles people up, is this model does not work.
no, isn't it easier to explain that each person is rendered a view differently than somebody else. And we can actually watch that by going like this. Watch.
Jaron is taking our own words and saying them back to us like he's telling us something. He's explaining that we're in a simulation right now.
Okay. So we know the sun's right there, right? Now, as I back up, I don't know if you can see the ground enough. Let me look it down a little bit. All right. So we can see that I'm starting to move here, and you'll see that the sun is just rendering for me. So I move. So if we tried to triangulate this with that distance over here and this distance over here, you're not going to get an accurate answer because the sun is rendering for me. It's like as if there's a source light hitting something and then, oh, here's an excellent test. Miss and I did this. I told David and his girlfriend to do it, Paige. Take, if you don't have one, oh sorry, get one, the little dome glass piece, put it in the middle of a table, have you and your wife sit on opposite ends, and then take turns shining lights at it and find out if you see the same thing. You won't. It renders differently for each person. Meaning if you ask her, put your finger where the light is right now, she'll lean forward, put her finger on the dome, and it won't be where you see the light hitting the dome. So just as an example, so you can prove to yourself that it is possible that the sun is just rendering like that. Meaning it could be from a source light and each person is seeing it differently.
Let's listen to that clip again, and I want you to pay attention to the way Satanists use cognitive dissonance, because they know that if they give you just one semi-plausible way to explain away the problems in their model, that there's a whole group of people that in order to stay part of the popular crowd will just either not do the experiment themselves and trust you, or if they do it, they'll look at it and somehow think to themselves that they're not smart enough to understand it, and because Jaron promoted it, it must be truth.
So just as an example, so you can prove to yourself that it is possible that the sun is just rendering like that, meaning it could be from a source light and each person is seeing it differently. Because if somebody's over in, let's see if we can get down here. I want to kind of get away but still see the sun. Is that possible? Let me see if we can get up like this. Sun, you still there? Okay. Right, and then we can kind of move this way, and for each person, it's just going to be a different spot. So if we go far enough this way, it's going to be rising or setting, right? And it's just because of how it renders to each person.
It's how it renders to each person, but the square map is ridiculous, and this is why I'm still an AE guy.
There. So it's never below your feet again. This would just be like you just got further away from this person where we were before, where it was above their head. It's still above their head. It's still above your head, just distance away.
So that's it for the evidence, everyone. That is why Jaron is still an AE guy and why the square map is ridiculous. What I'd like to do now is share parts of the intro and the outro of this video because they are very, very telling. Let's take a look at how Jaron started off this video.
Azimuthal equidistant, it is the why I'm a circle mapper, if you will. And I want to explain that today and show why I think a ton of people jumped ship. I've even heard some names, I'm not going to mention them, but I've heard some rather kind of surprising people have dropped the circle map, and I think that it all comes down to listening to others and not looking into things deeply yourself.
Jaron, the people that have abandoned the AE model are the people that have done the research. It's the people that just follow your words that are still being deceived by this model.
And to really weigh all the options, weigh all the evidence, and decide which ones make sense and which ones don't. And there's some other people out there that are proclaiming certain models or maps make sense when they absolutely do not.
Jaron, you're speaking directly to us, Ronnie Vavent Skeptic and myself, and every time you've said something true in this video, it's been something that we've been saying for the last year.
Also, they say that nobody has debunked their level or their little design, and that's because they get nobody watching.
Nobody has debunked the map or model that we are promoting. Surely if somebody on your team could have, they would have by now. We are open to correction. We don't say it's 100% accurate because we don't know. We want people invested in researching it and working together. As to why we do not have the views, it's obvious that it is you and your network of satanic shills that are promoting this flat earth AE model, that you guys are out here censoring us, holding back the views, doing everything you can to try and discredit the truth.
So so it's hard to get anybody to debunk it. And if you were speaking truth and showing things that people wanted to see or that felt real, then you would have a lot of people watching your show. When you spend 2 hours just ranting and raving about other people, you don't get very much viewers. So
we do not get the viewers because not one of the popular Flat Earth channels out there will promote us by even speaking our channel's names. All these channels support this failed AE model. They are part of your network. We will not be stopped, and that's the reason why we've had to create the Troll for Truth campaign. This is in its infancy, but it will grow. There will be more Ronnies, more Jasons, people standing up, fighting for the truth, calling out the liars and deceivers. And here is how Jaron summed it up at the end of his video.
Alexander, please. Yeah, I don't want to put my faith in anybody's map, but I think that the idea of the azimuthal equidistant still works. And so that's why if other guys want to go off on other things, that's fine. By all means, I want Ceres to keep doing what he's doing over with the Sun and Moon group.
All right, Ceres is a serious Satanist, and for anybody that has seen what Ceres is doing, he's showing people terrible, terrible, terrible CGI that he says is some sort of code that he's been getting from Google Maps, and it doesn't match and look like anything. And he tries to sell it off like it's something real.
And Darren Nesbitt, if he likes that, and everybody who is feeling the flat map, they should explore it, even if Lori and Lawrence want to keep going on the Pac-Man map.
Notice that Jaron will only speak the names of controlled opposition channels and the use of the term Pac-Man, which is obviously a heavily MK'd term for any time that he's going to refer to simulation reality, he uses the term Pac-Man.
I have no problem with that. That would be the best way of finding the truth, because if we run into a corner or we run into a hole or they do, well, then there's still somebody researching and doing it. But instead, everyone turned into, well, you guys are still pushing the circle map, so you're shills. No, I don't have problems with it yet. I still see things about it that work.
Jaron doesn't have a problem with it because he still sees things that work, even though that we also see things that prove it impossible.
I don't know exactly some things, but all their debunks are not debunks. Ronnie yelling and screaming about it wouldn't work that way doesn't mean anything. He's wrong. He doesn't understand how perspective works. He just can't grasp it.
Oh, Ronnie can understand it, and so can I. And we know that you can understand it as well, but you are a liar and deceiver promoting a false model. There is a standing open challenge to a debate on my channel all the time with you, Jaron. All the time.
He says in one day that the sun moves in straight lines. The next day he comes out with a map that shows it going in squiggly lines.
What Jaron is referring to right now is how Ronnie of Event Skeptic ended up on Flat Earth Conspiracy because he was fighting against the popular Flat Earth because his research had shown how on the equinox the sun traveled a straight path. It goes from 90 degrees east to 270 degrees west everywhere on Earth. That's when he was talking about it being a straight line. He didn't stop his research, nor did I, and we did find the correct map of this world that shows how the equator is a curved line. We don't know everything from the beginning. We learn along the way. That's true of everyone. And your attempt to discredit somebody because they learned something along the way is just another Jesuit satanic tactic.
Says that it travels straight but parallel, but not, but it has an arc to it. It's all nonsense. It's just, again, it's the whole idea of we don't see a ball of gas in the sky. That's not what the sun is.
All right, I'm going to play this again. And I want you to get this all in context. He is mocking Ronnie, and then he says this about the sun.
Again, it's the whole idea of we don't see a ball of gas in the sky. That's not what the sun is.
From the beginning, one more time.
Says that it travels straight but parallel, but not, but it has an arc to it. It's all nonsense. It's just, again, it's the whole idea of we don't see a ball of gas in the sky. That's not what the sun is.
But this is what you said earlier.
And again, it's not a ball of gas. It's not a ball of fire.
And again, it's not a ball of gas. It's not a ball of fire. And again, it's not a ball of gas. It's not a ball of fire. And again, it's not a ball of gas. It's not a ball of fire.